In modern society, people are unaware that the smallest of actions can make such a fatal difference to the environment. You may wonder how the environmental crisis can stem from such a small action, but the answer is simple. Most of the problem is invisible to us. CO2 and other greenhouse gases, much like events occurring on the other side of the world from where you stand, are there, and the damage is happening. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean that the problem will disappear or it will not affect you in some kind of way. People tend not to understand what they can't see or are unaware of, so we must help them become more mindful and to realize the problems in the world. With the knowledge comes the potential to take remedial action and erase the effects of our current lifestyles. In order to sustain this increase in knowledge, consumers need an accessible tool to allow them to substitute effectively. This app will track and monitor your personal and ecological footprint, as well as give suggestions for a more ecological and balanced lifestyle. These suggestions will be in the form of the comment and blog section, alongside your own personal account to create a community feel for the users, and a much more supportive approach to a lifestyle change. However, the main features of the app will be the inbuilt carbon and ecological footprint calculator for individual products and services that you use. It will provide substitutes to enable you to cut down your usage. For those of you that don't necessarily understand what carbon and ecological footprints are, this might be helpful for you. Carbon emissions are the largest contributor to the ecological footprint. The carbon footprint measures the total gases produced to directly or indirectly support human activity. The ecological footprint is a measure of all the land and water we need to produce all the resources we use and consume, such as energy, food, wood, and land. This is then compared to the Earth's biocapacity and its associated absorption rate of the waste produced. It takes the Earth 1.5 years to regenerate the resources we end up using. However, we use a year's worth of resources in a third of the time. If everyone in the world lived the way people do now, it would take 5 Earths to produce enough resources for everyone. There is a large inequality of resource distribution, and we are using more than the Earth can give and sustain. We need to cut down the CO2 emissions and decrease our overall ecological footprint. The app will allow consumers to do this in an easy, everyday way. One way to look at this app would be to compare it to a dieting app. These kinds of apps already have a big effect on consumers, and finding a similar gap in the market could result in a profit for the app. An environmental change for the world. Instead of cutting down calories, the app will teach you to cut down on CO2 emissions by substituting. It doesn't take cutting down everything to make a difference. Before you purchase an item, the app will prompt you to think about the processes behind the product, from the raw materials to the packaged end result. The database will then tell you the overall CO2 ratings generated by the app, then give suggestions for future low emissions alternatives. In this way, you are only substituting and improving, not eliminating products. Technology is constantly evolving and becoming more efficient, so we must do the same. The changes needed to be made are all doable. For example, food wasted in the UK alone represents 14 million tons of CO2, equivalent to 7 million cars each year. Reducing this will result in a lower overall footprint. Another simple act that can be done is to turn down the central heating thermostat by just 1 degree Celsius. This cuts down the energy use by 10%. Energy use in homes makes up more than 1/4 of the CO2 emissions in the UK. These small acts, alongside the substitution of consumables, will result in a positive change for your health, your finances, and the environment. If the technology or policies are not available, we need to find a solution. This platform will not only encourage individuals of all ages to make more efficient and healthier choices, but create awareness to the issues and even encourage governments and businesses to take responsibility for what they do, just like we are.